Shalom, everybody, and welcome to the Hard Truth Show and to Seven Trumpets Prepper channel. Now, this is stream number 49, and we're going to be having a very important conversation this evening with Brother Akeem, Solemn Prophet's going to be on here with me, and we're going to be talking about the enigma of the Torah community's disregard for the True Scriptural Calendar. And I would treat this as constructive criticism. This is not hate speech to anyone. I think it's a important time to be having this conversation, being that, we just at the tail end of the Feast of Tabernacles, and, the scriptural holy days are coming to a close for this year. I think it's important that we all have some reflection on that and ask ourselves, why is it that every year we always have these conversations and people have these debates that people do SAT day worship and F day to SA day, sunset to sunset, and all these combinations and all these calendar schemes and all this stuff. But for some reason, people will always end up on the same time frame for the scriptural holy days. But yet people keep a whole bunch of different Sabbaths. Is that not weird? Is that not like red flags? Is it not strange that people don't observe the new moon, even though the scripture talks about observing the new moon? I mean, like, these are honest, real questions that have validity, that no matter whether you're Hebrew or Gentile, whether you're male or female, young or old, whoever, these are valid questions, especially in the last days, that should be addressed. So many people want to have debates about so many things, from, oh my gosh, from polygamy to if chicken is clean to you name it, but we can't have a meaningful dialogue, civil dialogue with people about the Father's appointed times. Just saying. Real quickly, guys, just a couple notes here. We're entering fall time and winter, and I'm going to be doing the show 6 o'clock Eastern time on Sabbaths and 12 Eastern on new moon days. If you want to download the World's Last Chance calendar app, you can use that to help figure out when those days are, so you can catch the show on here. And it's also a great tool for helping follow the scriptural calendar. And you can download that for Apple or Android devices. Okay. A couple last notes and we'll get right into this. Odyssey, guys, every time that my content gets pulled on here, I always have a backup for it over on Odyssey. I call that my Hall of Fame playlist over there. So if you see anything over here YouTube takes away, you can find it over there on Odyssey. And I encourage you to go on the link below and subscribe over there. Okay. Almost caught up. Like I said, tonight's show is going to be covering the calendar. The last show we talked about is the new kingdom is our only escape from the coming destruction of this world. Also talked about Babylon's time is almost up, the show before it. And if you didn't catch the stream before it, these all kind of segued into each other. Is the New World Order is becoming plain to see? Are you getting prepared? And that was pretty much the run-up of this past month's discussions. Now, right before I bring Brother Akeem on, I want to lay this at everyone's feet so that as we go through this, we all can understand that we're coming at this from a level playing field. Okay. And by the way, guys, make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you'd like to support the channel financially, you can do so in the links below. All right. So the first thing that I want to bring up is this, to keep in these 4 points to keep in the back of your head as we're moving through this, is because so many people in the Torah community, whether they say they don't, they do suffer from this. And one is cognitive dissonance, is that your beliefs and your actions don't line up. And I think a lot of this is because, just as I say with people in the school indoctrination camp, the public school indoctrination system, well, we've been put through the religious indoctrination system. So people, to come back to actually what the scripture actually says and to actually walk it out, it's a series of cognitive dissonance that people go through. On top of that, we, especially people that's been in like Roman Catholicism and been hammered that in their head all their lives and everything. And then, of course, a lot of people in Protestantism too, been hammered it all their lives. There's this whole situation with Stockholm syndrome. So you literally, the religious system that abused you, you literally are connected to it. You feel responsible for upholding it, and et cetera, et cetera. All right. The other thing is this word enigma. Most people may not understand this. I got one more thing, guys. We're going to get right in the show. Is that a person or thing that is mysterious, puzzling, or difficult to understand? The reason that the calendar is such an enigma is for 2 reasons. One, nobody really cares about taking the time to go back and look, what does the scripture say and how was things done back then? And secondly, is we have such a messed up calendarization system in the world today that is given to us by the beast system, by the man of sin, is that people, when they start to actually look at the scriptural calendar, they rack their head in mystery because they can't understand what's up. All right. And the last point I would make is that we're also dealing with paradox within the community, is that a paradox definition says a seemingly absurd or self-contradictory statement, a proposition that when investigated or explained may prove to be well-founded or true. So in other words, when I say things are a paradox, is that people will say they keep Sabbath, but in reality, they're keeping it on the Roman calendar and they're keeping the incorrect Sabbath, but at the same time stopping to keep the festival days and things like that by the Father's lunar solar scriptural calendar. That's a paradox. That's an enigma. That's so contradictory that, you know, it's somewhere between cognitive dissonance and Stockholm syndrome, all these four things combined. And I really don't know how to reach some people. And the best thing that I can say to this right before I bring Brother Akeem on is that it is a individual responsibility to take the liberty and freedom of truth that you have been given in Scripture, and especially in the last days where we can instantly Google something. And I'm going to post just my part that I'm going to share tonight back and forth while we have this dialogue. You know, when I post this stuff up tonight, you can Google all this in like 30 seconds. You know, today, before I even got started with this, I literally only took me like 5 minutes to put together what I needed to. And that's sad, because it's like, if I can do this in 5 minutes, what in the world is people doing out here that say that they're pastors, deacons, elders, apostles, prophets, all this stuff? What are they doing? All right. So with that said, without further ado, I'm going to bring my brother on here. Shalom, brother.
Shalom. Shabbat shalom, brother.
Hey, Shabbat shalom. I hope you had a wonderful bunch of feast days, my brother.
Absolutely.
Man, I'm gonna let you shoot first tonight. You know, me and Brother Akeem's gonna be two defense attorneys here in the court of public opinion tonight. We're just gonna lay it out there for the jury to decide. But I brought a lot of evidence. So I think between Cameron and Cameron Law offices here, we're gonna lay it out there tonight.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, I guess the first question I put forward for the both of us, I guess, for us to answer to people, why does this conversation even matter? You know, like, I guess it's something that gets put on the back burner with everybody. Like it's important to talk about Sabbath up until the point where we actually talk about doing it right. And then it's not wanting to be talked about. So like, expound on that. Why is this actually a meaningful topic, and especially for the time we're in?
I was just talking about the same topic with someone the other day, and a lot of times people designate what they find important in terms of what's a salvational issue or not, right? If it's not a salvational issue, then we shouldn't even be really discussing it. A lot of people have that understanding. If it is, then those are the things that we need to dive into. But I was reading a scripture, and it was talking about idolatry, but it was talking about it in the form of like worship, which a lot of these calendars and holidays and stuff denote. And so it's hard to try to understand how to keep the Father's actual appointed feast days, his appointed times, his Sabbaths on a pagan calendar. That in itself is idolatry.
Yeah.
And the scripture called it an abomination. And that kind of stuck with me a little bit. And I thought about it, and I was like, well, if keeping the Father's appointed times on a pagan calendar is idolatry, and idolatry is abomination, then this very well should be considered a salvational issue. So it kind of upped the ante and elevated the discussion into a more serious, group, pretty much. So I think it's important to have this discussion because, one, we don't want to be dealing in abomination. We want to be keeping the Most High's feast days, his Sabbaths, his appointed times on the calendar that he gave us, not the calendar that man made or anything like that. We want to follow him in spirit and in truth. And the truth is, he gave it to us right there in the beginning of the book.
Yep.
So, I think that's the main reason why we should be having these conversations, and why the calendar has been getting as much flack as it has, because when something's truly important, the easiest way to try to tear it down is to discredit it. And if you make it so that it's not considered important or a salvational issue to begin with, then why jump through all the different hoops and do all of the different research that it takes to prove this calendar, if it's not even on your radar, or it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Well, where controversy abounds, truth is always present.
Exactly.
And I've seen so many ministries go out of their way to discredit the Father's appointed times by his calendar, but yet at the same time expound to people how important it is to keep the Sabbath on a false calendar. Like, that blows my mind, brother. Like, I can't process that. Like, I'm a sound reason, logic, like, let's think this through kind of person. And when I always apply that to that situation, it just blows my mind, because I see that replay and replay and replay. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder, and like, even Abby brought this up to me one time. She's like, there's certain ministries out there that, like, they're in a position that if they wanted to actually honor the Father's calendar, they could do it and it wouldn't affect them one way or the other. Like, people wouldn't leave, it wouldn't bother them. Like, they're in a clear position to do that, but still they wouldn't do it. And I was like, wow, Abby, that's really powerful, because I was like, some of us, and I mean, like, and we can get into this in a minute too, the sacrifices that come with keeping the true Father's calendar. I mean, jobs and marriages and family and money and opportunities. And I mean, it just stacks up like chips at the casino. I mean, like, it's just all the things that you have to sacrifice on the altar of truth, as opposed to people that just keep the pagan calendar. They go about their business unimpeded. And to me, that is a serious red flag right there that says, hold up a minute. I can go about my business in this pagan world and keep this so-called Sabbath, but when I actually try to keep the feast days and the new moons and the Sabbaths by the book, I'm struggling over here. That should tell people there's something to it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw this up here, and you tell me your thoughts on this, right? Is a lot of people, I thought, whenever you got I know you got content you want to share tonight, brother. So you just hit me with it whenever you're ready, and I'll pop it up there for you. But I just want to share this one real quick, because I think that people will, one of the arguments, I think some of the arguments that would be good to address is people's like, the Sabbath's never changed, right? And I would agree on the Father's calendar. That's correct. If you're using the timepiece of heaven, they're not lying. But now, when they say that it has never changed on the Roman calendar, I think there is a massive discrepancy, and people can reach back, like this one right here, the Fasti Antiates Maioris calendar. Have you ever noticed down on the column to the far right where it actually has Saturn, the feast of Saturn Elia? I try not to say the pagan names anymore, but where it's got the feast right there for him in the winter solstice month. Did you notice that ever?
Not particularly on this one, no. But I knew that I knew that it was on the calendar.
Right. Well, what shocked me about it was when this for those that's watching, this is an 8-day lunisolar pagan calendar from the Roman Republic. And what's so interesting is there was 8 days in this. There's a market day, which is the 8th day. But you also have these pagan festivals that have been redubbed into so-called Christian holidays and things like that the Roman Church promulgated. I don't see a consistent 7th-day Sabbath on here marked off for y'all's people. And then you go to this one where that people say, well, the 7th day hasn't changed. Literally, the deity on which day they take off to worship is literally the first deity on the stick calendar. It was the first day of the week. And then it lost its prominence to the last day of the week because sun worship took the first place. So there's a day flip-flop in time right there. So there's like a whole day lost in time right there where things got changed. And then this one, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, where that I kept hearing about this in the past, how, that they just 10 days was taken off, but the day didn't change. Well, number one, who gave the man of sin the authority to even do said thing? And secondly, you know, as you see these, like this one here was kind of the consistent one I seen during the time frame I was in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. It was wild to me years later after I left that you see like this right here. People can pull this up right now, AdventistToday.org, how that the Samoan dateline shift. And I think this is interesting, something you can speak to because you were actually over there in the Pacific. Is that, you know, how the time changes over there, that dateline shift. Because I know me and you would talk in the past, it'd be like midday here and it'd be like midnight there or something. And they literally had to swap over to keep an SUN day so that they didn't break their 777. And so I guess my question that I would ask the people is, and which that also is a day lost in time that man decided to just move a whole day. So that's two examples in history right there I've showed where a whole day just got shifted in time. How can people just consistently think that that it's 777 when it's a man-made pagan calendar, even to this day? That's the thing I just can't grasp. After I came out of Babylon, looking back, I just don't understand why people can't use sound reason to look at that. Like, am I missing something on that, brother?
No, you're right. You're right. You hit the nail right on the head. Whenever man gets involved, that's where you start to see mistakes be made, and inconsistencies and discrepancies starts to come to the forefront. Like, as soon as we get our hands on something, because you know we can't make something perfect, especially if we're trying to make something perfect, moving away from something that was already perfectly established. It's just not going to get more perfect than it was already when it was created. So it's like if you created the perfect wheel, right? Like if you designed the perfect wheel, how round it is, you know, the symmetry of it, it gave you the optimum speed and whatever you want to call it, right? And then I'm like, oh well, I don't like that wheel. I want to make my own wheel. How can I make a wheel more perfect than the one that was already made?
You're right.
Mine's gonna have lumps in it. It's gonna be oval shaped. It's not gonna be 100% correct. It might be close, but it's never going to accomplish what was already accomplished, so to speak. No matter how many days you take out of the calendar, no matter how many days you add to the calendar, no matter what kind of laws you pass in terms of time zones and everything like that, international date lines, you will never get a replica of what the Most High originally instituted. And it shows. They're coming out with another one. I don't know if you've heard about the new calendar, brother. I did a video on it. They're coming out with a new calendar, where what was it? I'm trying to remember the actual information from it. Where they basically remove days out of the months, and then they eliminate October 31st completely, and then they add an additional week to December.
Now I've seen the one where they've got the two intercalary days, one at the 6th month and one at the 12th. And I've seen a couple things where they've lined it up to where that the dates almost match up to the Father's appointed dates at the weekend. But now I don't know if I've seen this new layout yet.
Oh yeah, brother, it's crazy. It is crazy. While we're going through here and you make your next point, I'll find a link and I'll shoot that over to you too.
All right, yeah, because when you get ready,
the first couple minutes of it, because a lot of that is presented in the first couple minutes of it. But because I also talk about, you know, the days were being switched from the 4th to the 15th in was it 1582, I believe the year was.
Let me pull that back up. Absolutely. There. 1582, yeah.
Yep, yeah. 1582. It goes from the 4th to the 15th. Yep. So that video also covers that portion as well. But yeah, these brothers are trying to do a new calendar. Is crazy. They're going out of their lengths to do. They're reinventing a wheel that shouldn't be reinvented.
Well, what I've wondered at this point too is, you know, like I think it's that Abrahamic Faith Center where they've got Islam, Judaism, and Christianity joined together now. And you know, the man of sin's pushing for the new world order and the, you know, all this one world religion and just all the crazy stuff that's going on. It's like, do people not see the concerted effort to diminish the worship on the set apart times? Like, I'll give you an example. I go out in town daily. I have seats on my pants. and I take certain days off from the job site, from my job that I work now, I completely just shut down in life. Matter of fact, I even turned my cell phone off I just leave it off on Sabbath if at all possible, so that nobody bothers me anymore, because like that's the one day it just decides to blow up, which is also a sign to me it's Sabbath. But like, people just look you strange anymore if you actually walk this thing out. And it seems like there is getting to be a massive divide in the Torah community that I think it was Brother Joel shared it on Facebook recently. I seen a conversation, y'all were chopping it up, how that like people were starting to wake up to this in mass. And then a lot of people are, are just like, I'm going to reject this altogether. And I just find that so interesting, because it's like some people will only go so far with the truth until it starts to really cost something,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've had conversations with people where they're like, oh, this calendar, man, it seems like it's right. I'm doing my research, everything's lining up, the scriptures are basically explaining themselves. I'm not having to add a lot of my own interpretation and an explanation, all of that. And then when they realize what the keeping the actual calendar requires, when your Sabbath is going to change from day to day on every rotation of a 4-week cycle. So you go into your boss and you're like, hey, this month I need all the Mondays off. Oh, but by the way, next week I'll need all Wednesdays off. And then the following month after that, I'll need all Thursdays off. When you realize the burden of that and how it's going to affect you trying to operate in this wicked society, right? Obviously, if everybody was righteous, then we wouldn't have these issues. But when they see that cost, they're not willing to pay it. And then you start to see, like the Messiah said in his parable of the seed and the sower, when some of the seeds landed on the path and the birds came and ate it up, but then there was some seeds that landed on the rocks and it grew a little bit, but when the sun came up, it dried it up. But this particular example, I see a lot of people representing the seeds that fell amongst the thorns, right? They fell amongst the thorns. They saw how hard and difficult it was, and their own understanding of, well, I don't have the conviction to stick to this calendar, and then they fall away, right? Because if it was just difficult, you can, running up a hill is difficult when you're training or you're trying to lose weight. Working out is difficult, but you can do it, right?
Right.
But when you add your own understanding, when you add your own shortcomings to it, it makes it that much more difficult. And a lot of people, unfortunately, have fallen away. This calendar is not for the faint of heart, I should say, to keep. No. Unless you truly are following the word, which you should be if you're claiming to keep this word, keep the Torah. But a lot of people, they support the Most High and they keep the Torah in word, but not in deed.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you. I mean, to me, two of the simplest examples I've watched in the past 2 or 3 years that's really stuck to me is that the ones that come to the knowledge of the truth and won't walk out the calendar. And when I say knowledge, I mean like they understand the mechanics, but they're like, I'm not going to walk that out. Those people, I'm just like, you know what? I can't trust you anymore. I'm like, because if you come to this great knowledge and reject that, you're just straight up rejecting the Torah altogether, because like literally that's one of the founding commandments, like to walk this out. Second thing is, in the past couple of years has been, I tell you what, people have missed the boat these past couple of years in having a clear understanding on humanity if they haven't been paying attention, because just with the JAB that was pushed on everybody, just seeing how people not under pain of death or not real loss of life or not losing material things or anything, just being restricted kind of to go here or there and maybe a little purchasing power, gave in to that. That also was a big wake up to me, not to get off subject, but it's just like, I see it a reoccurring theme that when things really have to cost something, and I mean when I say cost something, I mean like that minuscule amount. Right now, I'm not saying like your head lopped off on a guillotine. Literally, people check out, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, this is shocking to me that it's like on such little effort that's required. People immediately is like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. The misconception with the Saturday Sabbath is they say, oh, that's hard to keep because that's the day that, you know, the world goes out and enjoys themselves. That's the day where they hang out, they party. You know, that's the day where you're supposed to enjoy your free time instead of bogging down and giving the Most High the worship and reading your scriptures and fellowshipping and praising and worshiping, right? But that's not a difficult thing to do at all. The world recognizes Saturday as a day you should have off. So that's not difficult. The difficulty comes in with the individual. You want to party, you want to go out and enjoy yourself. You feel as though that day you should have off. So sacrificing from your personal wants and desires to worship is the sacrifice that you're making. That doesn't give validity to the day that you're choosing to observe. That just means that you want to party and now you can't. So I don't know what to tell you.
Well, you know, you were talking about the actually, let me pull this up, a picture so that people have a visual of what we're talking about. Is, you know, this calendar, a couple things that, you know, and one thing that sticks out to me is just like the Battle of Jericho. Nobody's ever been able to answer me which day was Sabbath in the Battle of Jericho. I mean, the book of Yasher, 88th chapter, talks about it, that, you know, the battle started on New Moon Day and commenced, and then the other 6 days, which were the rest of the working days, the battle ensued. And then that leaves the next day being Sabbath, and the Most High didn't break his own command. But people that say 7-7-7-7, just like the Seventh-day Adventist people, this is where we get into that enigma that it's like you can't answer your own tenets of doctrine. And then, like you were talking about, you know, like say New Moon Day for those that aren't aware here. Okay, let's say that was on the pagan Roman calendar, which is the first of the week. Then, and let's say it's a 30-day month, and then we'll get into the 2 new moon days. And then I'm gonna let Akeem break that down because me and him's both actually produced content on that recently. Is that you have a day where it's going to skip over and it's going to start what would be the pagan middle of the week on the Roman calendar. All right. Your employer is going to look you sideways at first when you have to explain this. I've been down this path many times. That's why I also encourage people to work for themselves. But what's weird is then you look at the calendar with the feast days injected in it, is across this world, just this week, I watched it on Facebook where people would count off to Sabbath on different time scale. Guess what? Everybody out there took time off for Feast of Tabernacles. Now, somebody help me compute this, is that people had a different Sabbath across the world on multiple different count offs, but yet they all took off for the same time for the Feast of Tabernacles and counted it off from the new moon. Now, doesn't that create some problems? Like you're running off 2 timelines. Now, there's not going to be a Roman calendar in the new kingdom. And, you know, Isaiah 66:23 says, all flesh will come worship me. Thus saith Yahweh, all flesh shall come worship me, you know, on new moons and Sabbaths. Is that, am I incorrect on that, brother? So, I mean,
you are absolutely right.
So, I mean, like if the Most High says that on new moons and Sabbaths, all flesh is going to come worship before him, that's going to be done whether you want to or not. So, I mean, like, I think it's time people fall back in line to the original format, you know, and instead of doing this right here, going to the church house, giving in to seduction and sorcery and lies of a circus act instead of actually walking out to truth. But sorry, I got off on a little tangent there. But
no, you're fine. You're fine.
Oh, one thing I wanted to share with you, it was, oh man, I wished I could have told or showed you that before the stream, but I guess I'll just share it here with everybody. I was reading today in the Word, speaking of Sabbath, reading in the Word. This literally was on my eSword today when I was reading it. I was reading on down here where it says that all the ways of a man clean in his own eyes, but Yahweh weigheth the spirits. And on down here it says, Yahweh hath made all for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. Everyone that proud is that is proud in heart is an abomination to Yahweh. Hand join in hand, he shall not go unpunished. I was like, man, there is a bunch of proud people when it comes to this topic, man. I'm like, if I'm in error anyway, I want to be shown, you know.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I noticed when people are trying to discredit the calendar, disprove the calendar, or just justify not accepting it, right? Is the new moon day. That's a hard hurdle for people to get over. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. Can you pull up the lunisolar again, the little thing?
Yes, sir. And hey, I'm here in just a moment. I'll have the rest of those links that you sent over to me. I'll have them active whenever you want them up. I'll screen share it.
Okay, cool. So as you can see, right in the top right-hand corner, you have new moon day, day 1. Then you have day 1 through 6, which is your work week, and then your 7th-day Sabbath, which falls on the 8th of the month. The fact that that number says 8 and not 7 is the problem that so many people have. In the scriptures, they're like, well, it said 6 days you're going to work, and on the 7th day you're going to have your Sabbath. Well, that still applies here. However, people who use the Gregorian calendar to keep their Sabbath, which is a 7-day week, okay, they will never acknowledge new moon day in the way it should be. The Bible states that new moon day begins your month, okay? Your month, so month and moon, those two words are synonymous. The word month originated from the word moon. And so when you're not giving the new moon day its credit and due according to the scriptures, like brother Lucas mentioned in Isaiah 66, all flesh is going to come to worship the Most High on the new moon and on the Sabbath. That and dictates that there's two separate entities. There's two separate days that are worship days. So they have to be given their just due. Just like you give the Sabbath its own designation or its own designated day, you have to do that with the new moon as well. So the new moon starts the month. That's day 1. It's its own set apart day by itself. And there's multiple scriptures. We'd be here all day, quoting scripture about justification for the new moon. But there's multiple scriptures justifying the new moon. And then when you're talking about the Sabbath, it is a 7th-day Sabbath because you have 6 work days and then a 7th-day Sabbath. New moon day just starts the month off, but it is its own separate day. So the Sabbath is gonna fall on the 8th. It's gonna fall on the 15th. It's gonna fall on the 22nd and the 29th. And I urge and challenge anyone to go and search out the scriptures anywhere in the scriptures where the actual numbered day was annotated for the Sabbath. And I promise you, everywhere it is mentioned, you will see the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, or the 29th day. It will never say anything other than those 4 numbers in scripture. You cannot replicate that on a Gregorian calendar. You cannot replicate that on a 777 calendar system. It is impossible. So when you understand that aspect, now it's time to re-examine the new moon day. And when you read the scriptures, you see it's legit. There should be no more argument regarding why the new moon day is established the way it is.
Yeah, well, Ezekiel 46 and 1 too. Like Ezekiel 46 and 1 talking about on the day of the new moon, the gate will be open. On the day of the Sabbath, it'll be open. But during the work week, it's closed. Like there's just whole chunks that people leave out, and I just don't understand it. Like right here. Now, I don't know if this person's comment was like directed toward us or toward others out there, but I'm just going to read this one for a teachable moment. It says all these people trying to prove how more godly and more spiritual and more knowledgeable they are than ever Christian who have been following the tradition of scriptural understanding for centuries. All right, well, here's the thing. The understandings we've had for centuries are in error, okay? And in the last days, the foundations of many generations will be built back up. That scripture talks about that. What is it? It's in Isaiah 58:12, restoring the foundations, the breach. And just because my grandfather, my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, my great-great-great-grandfather, and blah, 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 all the way back, followed the man of sin, his calendar, the false appointed times, Luke ain't going to do that. And for every man that knoweth to do it right and do it not, to him it is sins, what scripture says in the book of John, what is it in it's in John, I believe it talks about that. In John's writings, he talks about to him that know what to do better and do it not to him and to sin. And so, I'm not going to walk the path of tradition, because tradition will run you off a cliff. And and centuries of indoctrination. Absolutely right there. That's absolutely it. Yeah. And it's been a humbling walk for many of us too. I think that's the thing that really irritates me to the core, is the humbleness that you have to have. That, like, for me, for example, I had to say, you know what? Thank you for electing me a deacon in this church, but I can't walk this out anymore, because that I can't do the sun worship. I can't do all this other stuff. This is an error. And then went from there to the Seventh-day Adventist Church to figure out, oh, they've hit even more stuff, but these guys got some truth. To walk out of that, to be out here with being able to fellowship with only a handful of people, just because of, but you say the word flat earth, true Hebrews, or the Father's calendar, you're going to get immediately put out of the herd on most people quickly. So it's a humbling experience. So I don't know why anybody ever thinks when we bring this stuff up that it's being puffed up. From 13 years in this walk, I would like to think, okay, yeah, that was a comment toward us. They're not indoctrinated. You are. Well, Robert, that's okay. Apparently, I can back up what I've got with Scripture. But, it's madness out here. And I just fear it's going to get worse as things get closer to the coming of the kingdom,
So I just got a quick point.
Hey, did you see that right there, brother? Real quickly before you hit that. That's actually the comment of the night right there so far.
It's almost easier for someone who's never been to church in their lives to understand than of those of us who had to relearn from false doctrine. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because in order to think of it like a tub. Right. Think of it as a tub, and a tub doesn't have the drain on it. Right. It's just everything enclosed. If it's full of water and the water's dirty and you're trying to get clean water in there, you have to remove the dirty water first, dry the tub out, and then pour the new clean water in. When you've been indoctrinated with false doctrine for your entire life, you can't just hear the truth and accept the truth right away. You have to deprogram what you've already been programmed with, clear the slate, and then begin anew and start fresh. And for the brother, or I don't know if there was a brother or a sister who made that comment, the two comments, it's not that we think that we're more intelligent or we know more about the Bible than the other person. To be 100% honest, it took me years to actually find this calendar and to adopt it. When I started my journey to find the true calendar, or the true Sabbath day, because that's how it started, was to find the true Sabbath day, it took me a year to find this calendar. And then even after finding the calendar, it took me a year to reconcile it fully in Scripture. And even after those 2 years, as Brother Lucas could tell you, because we found new information regarding 2 new moon days, that we still didn't have all the answers after that, right? And we're still learning. So it's not like we think we're more intelligent than you. We're just sharing the information. It took us a long time to get. We go through the hurdles and battle in the trenches so that you guys don't have to.
Yeah.
If I take 2-3 years to get some type of information, and then I put it in a 30-minute to an hour presentation with all the information that it took me all that time to get, and I give it to you, you can watch that in 30 minutes to an hour, and then you can take a couple weeks to maybe even a few months to research it, but it didn't take you that much time to get that understanding, whether or not you agree with me or not, but to have it. And that's what we're doing. We're sharing what we've learned. It's not that we want to be more intelligent. There's probably some things that each and every one of you guys in the comment section have studied or learned bits and pieces that we don't have. And we can share that information. It's iron sharpening iron.
Right.
It's just that the topic of tonight is the Father's calendar. And it just so happens that, we have a lot of information on said calendar that we're willing to share with other people.
Well, here's a question to ask people straight out, right? Is if you went to every church house on the block today and you ask pastors, because I've done this, I've asked pastors, and some of them actually know about the Father's calendar, but they'll keep Rome's. They will not follow it, right? Okay, but let's just go to the Torah community for a minute and ask the question, did you observe new moon this month? Now, I would say most people would say, yes, I did because of Feast of Trumpets. But outside of this month, if I asked that question, the answer would be probably a resounding no. And to me, that's sad because it's like, okay, if you say that you love y'all and you're trying to keep his calendar, you're trying to keep his appointed times, you straight up just disregarded one of the three out the gate. And where it really goes beyond us is people can do, and I see, I know people are getting their feels in the comments. This, like I said, flat earth, true Hebrews calendar. You talk about any of those people's going to lose their mind. But at the end of the day, the scripture literally says in the new kingdom, this is how it's going to roll. Like there's going to be a calendar format, a worship schedule that people will come and worship the Most High Yah. It's like, who cares what everybody done for the past couple millennia? It was wrong. Like, you know, the Roman Catholic Church and their calendar, it's wrong. So who cares? Like, I guarantee you the Hebrew Israelites, like Daniel, when he was in Nebuchadnezzar's court, he didn't care about the magistrates and the magicians and the soothsayers and everybody else giving ear to Nebuchadnezzar. He did his own thing. I mean, look what the three Hebrew children done when they said to bow down. I mean, like, there's always going to be a small number actually walking out the true thing. I mean, scripture talks about a remnant too. I mean, like, if everybody's doing it, that should send up red flags. It's probably not right, you know.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a good point right there too. Yeah, that the calendar is their mark. Yeah, the Roman Catholic Church does state that it is their mark of authority. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, when people get to talking about the mark of the beast, you know, where I default to with that anymore, guys, and the King, I'm curious about your input on this too. But like where I default when it comes to the mark of the beast anymore is if it's not, if it's breaking the commandments, that's putting me at risk to be taking the mark down the road, regardless, whatever it is. So if I'm doing the commandments, I'm obviously safe at not being taken the mark.
Yep. Because you know the mark is going to be in some way or form anti-Christ, anti the Most High, anti-righteous. It's going to be sinful. So if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you know, you're going to avoid that altogether. Not avoid it like avoid the time period of the tribulation, but just you're not going to adhere to the mark directly because you're going to keep the commandments.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, you know, like not to segue back on that, but it's the easiest thing I can use in comparison to the conversation we're having right now is that I've talked to so many people that I just love, like love them to death. But like I know they took the snake bite. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking myself, I'm like, as of the days of Noah, so shall the coming Son of Man be. And I'm like, everyone around me is like defective. They've damaged their body in some capacity. And I'm like, there's very few people that I know that even their blood ain't tainted at this point. Like on just a physical level, not even going into a spiritual level, just on a physical standpoint, I can't even hardly find a non-contaminated human being around me anymore that I know personally. And then you go into these layers of just like being obedient to the appointed times. I'm like, man, then you have people that just won't even give in to this wickedness that's going on in the world, but they come up on this, you know, of the Father's calendar, and to them, they treat it like a stumbling block. They won't even do it.
Yeah. It's sad.
Do you want me to screen share that? You want me to bring that point up for you?
The video that I sent you?
Did you send a video in that? I seen the one was like
the last link I sent was a video, but I wanted to get to another point before we got to the screen share. Okay. Another thing that people bring up against the calendar is they say, well, the sun and the moon, because that's the basis for the lunisolar calendar, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Genesis 1:14. It's been given to us for signs, seasons, days, and years. Well, they say, well, how can we follow a calendar that uses the sun and the moon to establish time when the sun and the moon was made on day 4, not day 1. So that throws off the count. And that's another big thing that I get. And so when you think about it, it makes 100% sense. When you read Genesis 1:1, it says that the Most High created the heavens and the earth, right? He created the heavens and the earth. The word create means to bring something into existence from nothing. There was nothing, and then it's created. It's brought into existence. When you look down at the verse where it's talking about the sun and the moon, when he made 2 great lights, okay, it says the word made. It's not the same word in English, and it's not the same word in Hebrew. When you look at the word made, it actually means to put something together that is already there. So when you're looking at verse 1 of Genesis, it says the Most High created the heavens and the earth. He had already created the sun and the moon. It wasn't until later where he gave them their name, gave them their appointment, their job, their title, their, assignment as signs, seasons, days, and years, but they were already there. And for example, if I think of an idea, right? Say I'm an artist. I have a picture in my mind and I draw it on a canvas. I have created that. I brought something that did not exist, and then now it exists into the world. I created that picture. But to make something is to take that which is already there. So for example, if you want to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, the bread's there, the peanut's there, peanut butter's there, and the jelly's there. You put them all together to make the sandwich. Now it's a sandwich, right? It's already there. So the argument saying that you can't trust the calendar because stuff wasn't made until day 4, it was already created on day 1. So the count doesn't lose its significance, and it never loses a count, unlike it going from October 4th, 1582 to the following day of October 15th, 1582. That's different, right? And then another thing is, in regards to the calendar that they don't like, is, and this one's the you can go to the first link to share that I sent you.
All right, give me just a second here. I'm pulling it up right now, brother. Okay, yeah, I got you right here.
Yeah, the first link. So they say that the fact that so many different languages in the world today, right? And my brother Joe, definitely all praises to the Most High for him. He brought this up earlier to me today, and so I was like, man, I gotta share this with the people.
Can you see it on the screen, brother?
Yep, I can see it. So they say the names for Saturday in so many different languages actually mean Sabbath, or they come from Sabbath, or they're linked or connected to the Sabbath. And you can see in the dark green on the screen here, those are the countries and areas and regions whose languages have a direct connection to Sabbath. And then the faded green is kind of like a secondary to that, right? Well, there's right now currently 24 countries, well, not countries, but 24 languages that their word in their language for Saturday has some relationship to actual Sabbath. It either derives directly from it, it either means Sabbath, or it gives some type of reference to the Sabbath. Now, they use that and say, well, since that is the case for many different languages, that's proof that the Sabbath has always been the 7th day, going all the way back to the beginning of time. Unfortunately, that's not the case. 24 languages, right? 24 languages. Can you pull up the other link, sir? My good sir.
Yes, sir. Give me just a second.
There is. Okay, now this is just a simple Google search, right? So you can type this in yourself. That first option, it says there is 7,151 living languages.
What? Man.
7,151.
Bro, that is wild.
Yeah, that's living languages. That's not talking about dead languages or discontinued languages. That's just right now what's living.
Man.
So, and that's also not considering the various dialects in each language. For example, English has 160 dialects by itself, just by itself. So if you're looking at it from a numerical standpoint, 24 languages worldwide that has a connection to Saturday and Sabbath, it doesn't hold up water in court, because you can simply just do you can divide 24 by 7151 and you're gonna get like 0.3.
Yeah, that's not good. That you have
It's
to go to
not
Common Core to really make that make sense for people.
exactly. And also, all of those countries that whose languages use Sabbath and Saturday interchangeably, they didn't do that prior to accepting the Gregorian calendar. All of that came from them accepting the Gregorian calendar. Different countries accepted it at different times. I also kind of go into that in the video as well. But some countries were more stubborn than others. Some fought a little bit longer to keep their own calendar system instead of adopting the Roman calendar system. But once the calendar system was adopted, then you started to see those languages have those words trickle into the language in regards to Sabbath and Saturday. But to say that the day has always been Saturday, or the seventh day has always been the same since the beginning of time, it doesn't hold up water, because there's been multiple times where the Gregorian calendar has changed. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold up.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, just like people, if you'll go back, anybody that's joining in right now, what Brother King just said, if you will go all the way back to the beginning of this video and you just look at the picture images, we had the pagan Roman Republic calendar. There was a change up. Then the stick calendar that can still be found in the baths of Titus and Rome today. There's a change up. And then you have the Julian calendar. There's a change up. Then you have the Gregorian calendar. There's a change up. Now there's another one coming up, sounds like. So, I mean, my goodness. Oh, by the way, brother, let me share some links for your content. Here is some links, guys. Lyrical Entertainment Ministries right there for Facebook. And then here is the link for YouTube. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave that up for a minute. That way people can catch
up. YouTube is actually Lyrical Entertainment Ministries. And,
okay.
Facebook is just Akeem Johnson. So Brother Akeem with an N, not an M. Akeem Johnson, and that's the Facebook. But yeah, Lyrical Entertainment Ministries is the YouTube channel. I got a ton of content on there, so definitely check it out, because I don't make it for my own health.
You know what? I got a notice the other day from Google, I guess, that they had took away my monetization ability on my channel or something. So I don't know what's up with that, man. I just, it's depressing. I'm pushing up on almost 90,000 subs, and it's like, I've just put so much time in this ministry that it's like to pick up and, reboot somewhere else. It would take a massive concerted effort at this point,
Yeah. Almost like a campaign to get everybody to go over to the new one.
Oh yeah. I mean, 13 years of work and you just start fresh tomorrow now. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a mess.
Absolutely.
Oh,
go ahead.
I guess the last point that I would make to everybody, or the last one that was just in the back of my head, and I hate to keep beating up on the new moon, but it's that documentary. If I ever get the free time here in the next year, I'm going to try to make sure and produce it. The new moon, the key to the Creator's calendar, because it's not talked about enough. If people had the new moon set in front of them, I think it would be a wake up call to them that, wait a minute, something's not right here. Is that, I don't know what that person's talking about. There's a lot going on in the comments, but the one thing I would say to people is, before you judge anyone, before you say the Roman calendar is correct, the Enochian calendar is correct, this calendar, that calendar is correct, if you stop in your tracks right now and ask yourself, am I observing and respecting the new moon as appointed day of worship? If you answer no to that question, you should not be in the driver's seat telling people on what calendar format to worship on, period. That should be baseline right there. And that would actually put a lot of so-called pastors and teachers in the quiet seat real fast because they don't even speak on that and completely disregard that. And there is a reason, ladies and gentlemen, they do that is because to uphold, especially the SAT day worship, it's the only way to uphold it, because you start talking about the new moon, that whole doctrine falls apart.
Absolutely.
And shout out to Layla. I appreciate you, sis, for the super sticker. Said it's still on. Hey, that was a good test. So I don't know what's up with that, but I got the Google thing saying they demonetized some stuff. So I don't know.
It might have been like maybe one of your past videos or something like that. But
I got sorry, man. These comments cracking me up. Somebody said, "Go, Lucas, spit that truth." My brother King's been spitting truth on here, guys. I've just kind of been just venting my frustrations on some things, but I can't understand how anyone can scripturally argue it. Yeah, well, here's the thing: the effort that people apply. I mean, like where I'm at with it is, I'm 13 years into this walk now. I'm not saying I know it all, but what I do know, I'm going to try to apply it.
Yeah.
And it's a day-to-day journey. And we're so inundated with lies to get out of that falsehood and put all that false doctrine away. It's been a nightmare to get away from that.
Let me ask a question to everybody in the comment section. Okay. Whether you keep the Gregorian calendar or not, or the lunisolar or whatever calendar you keep. Let me just ask you a question. If you found yourself lost in the wilderness and you did not have any type of phone or technology or calendar, right, to be able to keep keep up with the days, okay, how would you be able to keep the Sabbath if you did not know what day you initially entered into the wilderness? Maybe you were on a camping trip and you tripped and fell and hit your head on a rock and passed out. You don't know how long you were out for, even if you initially started your walk on the Tuesday. Even if you originally started your walk on a Tuesday, how would you know what day to keep the Sabbath on if you're following a calendar that was made by man in 1582 AD, right? And if a different scenario, maybe you're on a cruise ship and you're just enjoying yourself, enjoying a vacation or something like that, and something happens and the ship goes down and you pass out, you wash up on an island. You don't know what day it is. How are you supposed to keep the calendar? These are questions that we need to ask ourselves, because if you're of the biblical understanding of how to keep the calendar, the Most High gave it in Genesis chapter 1 by the observation of the celestials, by the observation of the sun, the moon, and the stars. The sun dictates when the day begins, the moon dictates when the month begins, and consecutively your weekly Sabbaths by watching the phases of the moon. So while if me and another individual are both lost in the wilderness and they're just going to count, because the only thing you really can do in that point, in a situation, is count the day you wake up as day one, count 6 days, and keep the 7th day as your Sabbath. Well, while they're doing that, I'm going to wait until the evening time and I'm going to look up into the firmament and I'm going to see what phase the moon is on. Yep. And based on that phase, I know when the Sabbath is approaching. And then I can look up at the stars and see the constellations to see where they're formed at. And then I can tell what part of the year, what time of the year I'm in. So I can know which time to keep the feasts is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
The Most High put his calendar into the sky, into the firmament, so that we as man couldn't tamper with it. Daniel says he seeks to change times and laws, but the times and laws that they've changed were the same times and laws that they instituted themselves. Nobody can go up and reach and adjust the moon or adjust the sun. When the sun sets or when the sun rises, you can't do that. So it's always been the same calendar going back to the beginning. But if you're not, keeping that, it's really hard to kind of justify those types of situations. And I know it's a kind of it's an outlandish question, but it's a valid question, because when you can't answer that type of question, it warrants you to study and look into it and see, like, well, how could I actually do this? And that same question was given to me. So don't feel bad And I gave the same answer that most of you probably are thinking in your minds as well. And so it warranted me to do further study. And upon further study, it's right there in the book, in multiple books. The 66, the Apocrypha, Book of Enoch, Dead Sea Scrolls, Jasher, Jubilees, you name it, it's there. So,
yep. And it's consistent and it's repeatable.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, before we wrap up on here tonight, guys, I know we're getting at the end. I just want to tell everybody, like, one of the things that I have noticed, and this is once again going on 13 years, and I don't know how many times throughout the years I have put this out there on the channel, and I'm going to do it yet again, is that I will go down to Delta Airlines at Knoxville, McGee Tyson Airport. I will get on a flight and I will fly out and I will debate this publicly with any pastor that has a massive following. I ain't going to just go out there for 10 people. Like, you got 1,000 people setting up in your building, I'll come out there and have a debate with you. And it ain't that those 10 don't matter. It's that if I'm going to argue something, I want to make sure it has an impact. Because when you have a debate about this stuff, number one, you're never going to win this debate officially. But that's okay, because the information that's put out there cannot be deleted off the mental memory chip. Because when you show people that the Battle of Jericho does not fit in the Roman calendar, and the only calendar that fixes that is the Father's Lunisolar Scriptural Calendar, that will never be deleted out of their mind. That will follow them till the day they die on their conscience. Now, whether they walk out the Father's calendar or not, that's up to them. That's between them and y'all. But they cannot unsee that now. And that's something that so many so-called leaders are trying to hide from their people, is that they will not let this information come to light, because 90% of them probably not going to walk it out. But there's about 10% of them, they'll probably make a hard turn right immediately and walk that out. And I was one of those people. And so I leave that challenge out there. I don't care who you are, where you at. I'm open to debating this, because I'll crush it. And it's not, matter of fact, when the debate's over, you can go ahead and declare me a loser. I don't care, because the information is out there, and the honest heart is going to go seek that out. And you, pastor man, are screwed at that point, because them people, you can't lie to them no more.
Yeah, I'll join you.
Yeah, brother. Oh, you know, if me, you, and Brother Troy and Joel went and done a debate somewhere, oh my gosh, the building would burn down. Like, I could just see the set apart spirit following us in the door. Like, that place would literally be on fire. Because, you know, between the four of us, as fast on the feet as we are between all four of us, if somebody can't think of something real quick, I can just see the other one spouting off the chapter, line, verse, and the historical documents to back it up like that, you know.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That would be a very, very interesting, that would be an awkward moment after we leave for whatever pastor it is answering to his congregation.
Oh, man, bro, I'm just straight up. I'll be straight up with you. If I was still in SUN Day Church and you rolled up in the house and just showed me half the stuff we've discussed tonight, I would leave church disturbed that night. And the next weekend when I came back to church, I'd probably be ready to strangle that pastor. Like that. That's like how powerful some of this information is to me. Yeah. But now a lot of people are not willing to get out of that comfort zone and not willing to sacrifice, you know, to walk this out. And that comes down to, like, the argument with people with over flat earth. I've told people it doesn't matter if it's flat, round, square. What matters is we're being lied to about the nature of it. Same thing with the Hebrews. I don't care if the true Hebrews were Chinese, but if they are Chinese, tell the people the truth that they were Chinese. But they ain't. They're the so-called black man that was under the curse of Deuteronomy 28. They're the only people that meet the standard. So let's start telling people the truth. And that's like, we live in this generation where everybody is so offended and all this, and we're supposed to be accepting, but we can't be accepting of the truth, though. When you tell people the truth, you're a bad guy.
Yeah. Could you play like the first couple minutes of that video I sent you real quick?
Yes, I will. Let me now. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see the link on the, it just now came through. Hold on. I got the other two. Give me just a second.
But yeah, it's ultimately, family, it's just do what the scripture says, right? At the very minimum basic level of everything. At the conclusion of the whole matter is love the Most High and keep His commandments.
That's right.
And part of that instruction, we're instructed to examine the entire matter. And if you don't, if you hear about the lunisolar, the Creator's calendar, the Enochian calendar, whatever people decide to call it, and you don't agree with it, that doesn't mean to initially reject it. What it does mean is to take in the information, weed through it, examine it, and then if the information is good, keep it. If it's not, throw it out. But you did your due diligence. Don't just disagree with it and cast it away.
That's right. Hey guys, just FYI to everybody, fair use on this. All right, fair use. How far are we playing this, bro?
This is the first couple minutes. It goes into the introduction of that new calendar system.
Okay, can you see it on here good?
Yeah, I can see it. I can't hear it though.
Give me a second. Let me see how to get this over on YouTube. That may fix the voice problem. I'm going to mute myself out, okay? So hopefully this will play audio for it, okay?
Okay.
I think that's the problem. I need to mute myself.
No, I still can't hear it.
Is it still not playing the audio?
No, it's not playing the audio.
Man, I don't know why it's doing that. I tell you what I can do is I can put the link in the video description after the video.
Yeah, no worries. You can do that.
Stream. Is there something on it though? Like I can fast forward through and scroll to that section so you can point out what you were what was going on in it. Like at least you have the visual.
You might be able to click through it, but it'll be one of those like hit and miss. It's in the first couple minutes, but keep going.
Is this your video, brother?
Yep.
Oh shoot, I'm sorry. Dang, if I knew that, I would have had you just send it to me and I could upload it where we could just stream through it. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay.
I didn't even pay
for the moment. I didn't even think about it until we already were in the middle of the discussion. But they're basically getting rid of dates, and then they're putting in. You guys can just go and check it out once you click on the link that'll be in the description below. But just check out like the first, I say 6 minutes of the video, 6-7 minutes of the video, and it'll explain this new calendar system that they're trying to implement, which makes no sense whatsoever. But the video goes to the history of the different calendar systems, and so it's good information. But yeah, no worries there.
Yeah, I will, guys. Just FYI, I will have that now for everybody watching live. Come back to this in about like I don't know, 30-40 minutes. If the worst case scenario, I'll have it up tomorrow because I don't know why it takes so long for the live to get sorted out after the fact. But whenever this stream's done, by this time tomorrow, just come back, double check that. I'll have the link for sure in there. And that way you can go straight over and see that content over on his channel.
Absolutely.
Brothers, anything else you want to share on here while we're on here?
I definitely want to give a shout out to my coalition, Unity and Survival. If you know that the tribulation is coming, and you are looking for a body of like-minded individuals, and you yourself are truly a like-minded individual, set apart, and you want to serve the Most High and keep His law, statutes, and commandments, and build with people, to definitely look up the Unity and Survival Coalition. Also, that link that'll be in the description for that video that we just saw. I also have other videos specifically for the coalition, and you can email me at unityandsurvivalcoalition@gmail.com and ask any questions that you want, and we can kind of get that process started for you if you're thinking about joining and becoming a member. And then I guess last thing would be So if you don't know and you listen to Righteous Set Apart Music and you're tired of the secular stuff on the radio, I do make music. My name on all digital platforms, to include Tidal and Spotify, is Solemn Prophet, as you can see underneath my name. Solemn Prophet, just look it up and you can go and check out any of my music. I'm dropping new songs every month until Passover, and then I'll be dropping a new album on Passover itself. So that'll be some music that you can go ahead and check out and stream if you would like to. And then all in all, whether you agree with us or not, we just ask that you go and just look it up for yourself. Look up the information. Don't take our word for it. But it's the times are coming to an end, and it's time that we start getting on the Father's calendar back into alignment with him, so that we can keep these appointed times and keep his appointed feasts and his appointed Sabbaths and new moon days, because those are the foundation for everything else that a lot of what we as believers actually hold on to. Don't believe your pastors just because they said that. Your elders, your camp leaders, your captains, and different things like that. Actually test it. Take what they say and then go back on your own and test all things. Hold on to which is good, but test all things.
Get some love in the comments, brother, on your music. Hey, some people in there that been over listening to your music. Me and brother Joel tore it up on the drive back home from California, listening to it too. I was a long 30, I think it was like 38-hour drive. We done like it's 36 or 38-hour drive straight home. Me and Joel was completely blasted by the time we got home, but that music helped keep us in the highway.
Y'all went on a pilgrimage.
Man, we did. I think it was a 2.5 day drive to Cali. We done the job in 3. And then we drove home 36 hours straight. Man, I was wiped out for like the next week after that.
You're making me tired just hearing.
Oh, man, it hurts my soul even thinking about it. I tell you, guys, funny. I know we've been on a serious note on a lot of things tonight. I want to leave you with a funny. I went up to the coalition meet up in Gatlinburg, and all my life, I've seen about 3 black bears in my entire life. I get up there with Brother Akeem. We're having a good time fellowshipping in the driveway. He walks off for 2 seconds, and this black bear almost snatched my soul. Like Joel's eyes look like he's going to pop out of his head. Everybody's pulling in here for this fellowship meeting, and there's this black bear getting in a garbage bag behind me, and that dude was like, I'm talking like he could have just reached out and grabbed me in the bushes and gone. And Joel was freaking out. I turn around, and I'm just in awe and shock. But man, that I'll never forget that. That was hilarious. That dude was right behind me.
And then after you left that same night, I don't know if it was the same black bear or a different one, but he came back down to the cabin where we were at, and I opened the door because my kids saw it first, and they came and got me. They said, "Dad, there's a bear outside." So I went out there. I'm looking, and the bear was huge, right? Like standing up on its all fours, like it probably came up to like my waist. And I'm 6'2", so it came up to about my waist on all fours. And so I run to Joel because listen, Joel was the native. He lives in Tennessee, so I went to him like, "Bro, it's a bear." Like, I went and got him a pew pew, just to be on the safe side. Like it's a bear, bro. And he was like, "Oh yeah, just letting me go see." So he goes all nonchalant out there, right? He looks, opens the door. He's like, "Oh yeah, man, it's a baby." I said, "That's a baby?" He said, "Yeah, it's a baby." I said, "Oh, well, I don't want to see no parents, no adults. Listen, you can have all of that. Look, close my door so we can get."
Yeah, man. I tell you what, that's crazy. That's a good spot where y'all were at for bears, man. That's unreal, the wildlife. But dang,
yeah,
brother, I love you a ton, man. Anytime you need me, just ring me on the phone. I'll do whatever I can to help you anytime.
Absolutely. The same thing, vice versa.
Yeah, man. Hey, I tell you what, last note, I've been boxing up goodies and sending to everybody. I'm actually taking Mark a box of prep gear tomorrow. You look on your gear bag and let me know whatever you're short on, because between Battle Box and Craig Club, man, I got a bunch of extra stash. I'll be glad to fill in the gaps on your gear. If you need anything, just let me know.
Oh, listen, absolutely. Listen, I got a coalition. 15 of us, you know what I'm saying? Listen, whatever you can spare, just go ahead and send it. You don't gotta ask for no questions. Just send whatever you got extra. Listen, we'll make use of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, my man. Hey, is that the mic I mailed you?
It is the
I
Mikey
thought that
Melly. I
looked
love it.
familiar.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I'm glad that worked out for you. This one so far, it's plugged up to the thing, but listen, I'm an electrician. I'm not a audio tech and video guy. I got to get my act together. But all right, man. Well, love you, brother. You take care of yourself out there. And guys, as always, till we see you again here at Seven Trumpets Prepper Channel and on the Hard Truth Show. Hope Most High Yah Baruch you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, show you favor, and give you shalom, my friends. In Yahushua name.